Digging Bell, if you'll put up for me Exodus chapter 14, starting at verse 13. And the title of this text or this message is going to be Go Forward, hashtag the movement. Go forward, hashtag the movement. Is everybody there? Exodus 14. All right, be reading from the New King James Version in verse 13, and it reads, And Moses said to the people, Do not be afraid. Stand still and see the salvation of the Lord, which he will accomplish for you today. For the Egyptians whom you see today, you shall see again no more forever. The Lord will fight for you, and you shall hold your peace. And the Lord said to Moses, Why do you cry to me? Tell the children of Israel to go forward. Tell the movement to go forward. Tell UICDI to go forward. But lift up your rod and stretch out your hand over the sea and divide it. And the children of Israel shall go on dry land through the midst of the sea. And I indeed will harden the heart of the Egyptians, and they shall follow them. So I will gain honor over Pharaoh and over all, somebody say over all, his army, his chariots, and his horsemen. Then the Egyptians shall know that I am the Lord, when I have gained honor for myself over Pharaoh, his chariots, and his horsemen. And the angel of God who went before the camp of Israel moved and went behind them, and the pillar of cloud went from before them and stood behind them. So it came between the camp of the Egyptians and the camp of Israel. Thus it was a cloud of darkness to the one, and it gave light by night to the other, so that the one did not come near the other all that night. Then Moses stretched out his hand over the sea, and the Lord caused the sea to go back by a strong east wind all that night, and made the sea, somebody say, into dry land. And made the sea into dry land. And the waters were divided. So the children of Israel went into the midst of the sea on the dry ground, and the waters were a wall to them on the right, and a wall to them on the left. And the Egyptians pursued and went after them in the midst of the sea, all of Pharaoh's horses, his chariots, and his horsemen. Now it came to pass in the morning watch that the Lord looked down upon the army of the Egyptians through the pillar of fire and cloud, and he troubled the army of the Egyptians. And he took off their chariot wheels, so that they drove them with difficulty. He made it hard for them to move forward. And the Egyptians said, Let us flee from the face of Israel, it's God's people, for the Lord fights for them against the Egyptians. Then the Lord said to Moses, Stretch out your hand over the sea, that the waters may come back upon the Egyptians, on their chariots and on their horsemen. And Moses stretched out his hands over the sea, and when the morning appeared, the sea returned to its full depth, while the Egyptians were fleeing into it. So the Lord overthrew the Egyptians in the midst of the sea. Then the waters returned and covered the chariots, the horsemen, and all the army of Pharaoh that came into the sea after them. Check this out. Not so much as one of them remained. But the children of Israel had walked on dry land. Somebody say on dry land. In the midst of the sea. And the waters were a wall on their right hand and on their left. So the Lord saved Israel that day out of the hand of the Egyptians. And Israel saw the Egyptians dead on the seashore. Thus Israel saw the great work which the Lord had done in Egypt. He did it in Egypt, so that's in the enemy's camp. So the people feared the Lord and believed the Lord and his servant Moses. You may be seated on this morning. Tell your neighbor, go forward. Go forward. Go forward. Go forward. We can't remain in the place that we're in. We're moving forward. So we have here just a little background. Everybody knows that the children of Israel were in captivity and they were slaves in Egypt. And, you know, God stirred up Moses and used him as a vessel. He made a stutterer a mouthpiece and sent them in to bring the children of Israel out of bondage, out of slavery. So after plague after plague, Pharaoh finally saw, this is not ending well for me, so I need to release the people of God from the chains and the bondage that I have them in. So the people of Israel came out of Egypt, came out of slavery, and they started to head toward the promised land, but the Lord hardened Pharaoh's heart. So the thing that had them bound is pursuing them again. So they come out, what has them bound releases them, and then decides that it's going to come after them again. I'm not ready to let God's people go, is what Pharaoh and his army decided. That I still want to bind them up. I still want to chain them up. I still want to have them wrapped up. So we get out here, and the children of Israel, they've been brought out, and now they're murmuring, they're complaining, they're crying, they're not appreciating that the Lord has brought them out of bondage and brought them out of captivity and out of what was holding them, because we know that the Old Testament is a shadow of the New Testament. So this bringing out was out of a physical slavery and physical bondage, and in the New Testament, this parallels what salvation is, what Jesus did for us out of spiritual slavery and spiritual bondage. So the people have come out, and they get to a place where they're murmuring and they're crying and they're complaining against Moses and against God, because they have come up to the Red Sea. So they've came out of what they were coming out of, and now they don't see a way to move forward. They get here, and when they're facing the Red Sea, they have on their left and their right side, it's nothing but mountains and deserts, and then you have an army that is greater in number than the people of God are. So they're telling Moses that we told you you should have just left us alone and left us in bondage, because then at least we knew what our days would be like. At least we knew what our nights would be like. We would wake up in chains. We would go out through the day in chains and bondage. We would go to sleep in chains and bondage. And they preferred the certainty of that than the freedom that God was offering them. Whew. So Moses goes to God, and he's crying out like, Lord, like he did so many times, these complaining people of God. You've done this for them. You've done this for them. And they prefer to go back to a familiar bondage than to look ahead and to trust you after you've brought them out time after time. So the people are crying out. Moses is crying out. And I thought that God was just so, forgiving and merciful and all this kind of stuff. And it baffled me when I came across this text that it said, God told Moses, why are you crying out to me? He said, stop crying and move forward. He said, people of God, stop crying and move forward. This is a season where it's time to put the Kleenex up. All right. It's time out for the woe is me. It's time out for why does this keep happening to me. It's time for us to put up the Kleenex and move forward. It's time to stop being stagnant. It's time to stop worrying about what's in front of you, who's coming after you, and listen to what God is telling you. He told him that he was going to bring him out. He brought him out, And now they come to a place where it looks like there's nowhere to go. How many know that that's how the enemy operates? He makes us feel, but see, if there was a way, then God wouldn't be a way maker. So God will allow us to get into situations where we can't see a way out, so we'll look up. And so what he says is, stop crying to me. Why are you crying out? Why are you complaining? Why are you murmuring? Stop talking about it. Stop wallowing in it and move forward. He says, go forward. The word go means to move on course. So he says, I need you to move on course forward. I don't need you to complain. I don't need you to worry. I don't need you to stress. I need you to stop that, and I need you to move on course forward. And see, forward, I love this. Forward means toward a successful conclusion. So he said, I need you to stop wallowing in it. Yes, it happened. Yes, you're here. That's a fact. Yes, that what used to have you bound is coming back up on you, but I need you to move forward. I need you to move on a course toward a successful conclusion. I've told you that I provide. I told you to trust me. I've shown you this far. I've brought you out. Now I need you to get out the pity party and move on course toward a successful conclusion. Now, I don't want you to be naive. This does say a successful conclusion. That means an ending. That doesn't mean a successful process or easy steps. It doesn't mean that it won't be hard. What it means is this is going to end well for me. I know that what it looks like right now. I know that what I'm in right now. But God told me to move on to a successful conclusion. See, all they had to do was take one step. And a lot of us are remaining stuck at the Red Sea because we won't take a step. We prefer the sin that we were in. We prefer the bondage that we were in because it was familiar to us. At least, Prophet Hall, at least when I was a drinker, I knew that I was going to have a drink. And instead of me finding something else to cope, I knew at that time I preferred that bondage because it was familiar. There was a certainty in it. I knew what I was going to do. I knew that it was wrong. I knew that I was bound. I knew that I was stuck, but I knew what I was doing. And see, when you know what you're doing, you don't trust God. You don't ask for help on things that you know. So he says, I need you to stop murmuring, stop complaining, and I need you to move on course. Tell your neighbor, move on course to a successful conclusion. How many know that every successful conclusion don't always seem that way through the process? I'm talking about, but you got to tell your neighbor and you got to tell yourself, first of all, that this is going to end well for me. I don't care what it looks like now, but this is going to end well for me. I know you see what I'm going through right now. I know that I recognize that I'm in it, but this is going to end well for me. I don't know if I'm talking to anybody, but this is going to end well for me, what I'm going through right now. And every step might not be easy, but this is going to end well for me because God told me to go for. He told me to move on course toward a successful conclusion. How many know when the enemy throwing darts, it's hard to hit a moving target? So God said, I know what it looks like, but I need you to move on course. See, complaining gets you off course, and worrying gets you off course, and panicking and fearing and converting back to old ways gets you off course. And the more times you get off course, the longer it takes you to end well. So he says, I need you to stop doing these things because weeping may endure for a night, but it's going to end well for me. In the morning, it's going to be well. It may be like this right now at night, but it's going to end well for me. So the children of Israel, they've trusted God this far. They've come out of captivity. And now the adversity, that's what it is. We don't like adversity. We think that if God said he's going to do something, that means it's got to be easy. But you really don't respect or value something that you don't work hard for. It's called muscle memory. I remember when he brought me out of this because I couldn't bring myself out of that. I remember that. And it's sad to say that people are satisfied with bondage because there's certainty in it. Because it's familiar. It sounds foolish right now hearing it, but a lot of us are just standing staring at the Red Sea. A lot of us, God has gave us promise, because you got to realize they were en route to the promise. Our Christian walk, we are en route to the promise. The vision that God gave us, the purpose, the destiny that He gave us, when we accepted salvation, we are on en route. We are en route, somebody not hearing me, we are en route to a successful conclusion. So, and see, that's what the fear of the unknown, that's why faith is required. The evidence is things not seen. If I look trapped, if I have something in front of me on both sides of me, and I have something behind me, I don't see a way out. That's what faith is, knowing that there's still a way in the Lord. So He's saying, stop doing all this. It's time to move forward. It's time to get on course for a successful conclusion, because, see, sometimes you have to walk when you can't see the other side. Naturally, it's foolish to step in the sea. And see, just some, where's Jakai at? Just some geography for you. And you're in geography? Yeah, just some geography for you. The Red Sea is 1,400 miles long. How hard do you think it is to take the first step? But God said, if you do it, this is going to end well for you. See, it's time that we take the limits off God. We always quote and we say and we sing that, oh, God can do exceedingly abundantly above all that I can ask or think, but you think it's small. You got to stop thinking small, because when you're stuck, it's harder to get that out, ain't it? It's harder to make that declaration when you can't see a way out. It's hard when your own might, you can't make this thing or break this chain or break yourself out of it. But that's where it requires faith. See, we got to take the limits off God and know that He can still do it. See, the children of Israel had escaped bondage in the process of heading to the promised land. How many of us are held up on the way to the promised land because we're scared to step in? The enemy will put something that looks, I don't even know if this is a word, impassable. All is between me and the promised land is this sea, this big thing that's in front of me, and I have what I used to be stuck in coming after me again. And I'm moving forward, and I have momentum, and I'm giving my tithes, I'm giving my offering, I'm doing what it is that you call me to do, and all of a sudden there's an obstacle in front of me. And I'm worried because I know what I used to be in. And it's coming after me faster and faster, and I can't see how to get past this. So they worried, and Moses is worried, and God said, all He said was, why you cry to me? Why you cry to me? Move forward. Why are you crying to me? Go forward. And I thought that this was mean. When I first looked at it, I was like, why would God tell me that? I'm crying out to Him, and He's saying, why are you crying? He said, go forward, because that's what His last word. He said, you got to come out of Egypt. You got to come out of the bondage of what it is. And He told Moses, He said, go forward. And then He said, stretch out your hand, your rod in your hand. And I was trying to figure out, I said, man, that seemed kind of mean to me. But what it showed me is He had already put it in your hands. What was going to be used to make a way, He had already put it in your hands. See, God won't do for you what He's giving you the tools to do. If he gives me wood and sheetrock and hammers and nails, he won't build a house for me, because He gave me what I needed to build a house. So He said, stop crying, move forward, and use what I gave you. He's already given us the strategy. He's already given us the promise. He's already given us the tools that we need. He's equipped us with everything we need. And number one thing that's faith. Faith is, so tell your neighbor, faith is the first thing. But see, He's not only giving you that, He's also giving you the tools. And see, that's why the Lord wants to see if you were in class when He taught you how to use prayer. If you were in class when He taught you how to fast. If you was in class when He taught you how to have faith. Because the Lord said He hardened Pharaoh's heart. That means that the Lord put it on Pharaoh's heart, or the enemy's heart, or what once had you bound, to come back after you. And some people keep getting caught back in what he's got them out of because they won't use what's in their hand. Praise is a weapon. Prayer is a weapon. And bondage is in pursuit, but all you got to do is use what's in your hand, what he gave you. And some of us, and I say us because me too, at times I get caught up in what he pulled me out of because I'm not using what's in my hands. Because he said that Pharaoh started to pursue them. So they had come to a stopping point, and what used to have them bound is creeping up on them again. How many times have we been stagnant and we've been standing there and we get caught back in the same cycle that he's freed us from? And see, this is why I appreciate leaders and Bishop and Lady Collins, because guess what? They still have to be our Moses. They still have to encourage us to walk when we keep getting caught by what they went and worked hard to pull us out of. Their hours of prayer, their hours of labor, their hours of counseling gets us out of what we were bound in, but we won't use what's in our hands. So God says, stop crying and go forward. See, that's, oh my God, that's for somebody that feels like the whole world know their business. Because look, he had people pursuing them, so people was around when you were stuck. So that's for the people that feel like everybody know their business, everybody know their condition, everybody know the wrong they did, everybody know the sin that they were in. But see, if they not there to witness you in it, they are not there to witness God bringing you through it. So you could tell my business, but tell them I'm out with it. See, they have to see you, and see they have to see you in it. Think about this: when Lazarus was raised from the dead, by the time that Jesus came to the tomb to tell them to move the stone away, it was crowds everywhere. Everybody saw what was dead. And the reason I know that they had been there for a while is because they could tell Jesus the number of days that the body had been there. By the time he got there, they said, Lord, it's too late. It's been 4 days. He's real dead now. It's nothing you can do. Think about the 3 Hebrew boys. How many people, because think about it, when the sound of the trumpet blow, King Nebuchadnezzar wanted everybody to bow. That's everybody in the kingdom to bow. So everybody saw them not bow. And everybody went and told the king that they didn't bow. And everybody saw the king throw them in the fire, and everybody saw God bring him out. So people got to see you in it. Sometimes you wonder why everybody know your business. Well, they going to know your testimony too at the end of that. So miracles, oh my God, let me give y'all this definition. And see, that's what made God a miracle worker, because everybody that's looking at your stuff look like they don't think it's a way out. You don't think it's a way out. They saying that you're going to fail. They say that this is it for you, and then God will work a miracle. And see, this is my definition of a miracle. A miracle is something that couldn't happen, wouldn't happen, and shouldn't happen unless he made it happen. I'm going to say that again. See, our miracle worker, a miracle is something that couldn't happen, wouldn't happen, and shouldn't happen unless he make it happen. Oh, somebody going to get that later. See, we serve a God that can do something that couldn't happen, and do something that shouldn't happen, and do something that wouldn't happen unless he made it happen. How many people in this room know that there was situations that they should have never came out of? It's people that shouldn't be in here today, including myself. It's people that shouldn't be in their right mind today, including myself. It's folks that shouldn't be in ministry, including myself, unless God worked something that couldn't happen, shouldn't happen, and wouldn't happen unless he made it happen. So the situation that we go through, sometimes it seems like it's no way out. So here's the position. God is asking you to trust him, and this is the position that we are in. And when we say the army of Israel, I'm talking about us. You have a sea in front of you, the enemy in bondage behind you, rocks and mountains on the side of you, but God said go forward. So what you need is a path, or you need, God said that he will always provide a way of escape. So you got a sea in front of you. You got mountains and rocks and deserts on the left and the right of you. And you got what you used to be stuck in coming up on you. And he said, Moses, stretch out your hands over the sea. And see, all they needed, this is what I love about God. He always gives us more than what we need. All they really needed was a path. All they really needed was an escape. But when Moses stretched his hands out and the river parted, it didn't just make a path. It made one river, one sea, turned into an exit, a path, two walls, and a trap for the enemy. If he tell you to go forward, then it's something. Anytime that God asks you to do something unusual, he's getting ready to do something unusual. So all they needed was a path, but that one path turned into an exit, a path, two walls, and a trap for the enemy. So the people that's chasing you, the people that's talking about you, the people that's backbiting, the people that's spreading your business, turned into a trap for them. So keep talking while you're running up on me, spreading my business, because I got something for that. So God turned one sea into an exit, a path, two walls, and a trap for the enemy. But we just got to make up our mind that we're going to go forward. I don't care how many times you get stuck. The enemy can't hit you if you're moving. And this is, my God, this is what I love. He not only did this, but they crossed through a sea, a riverbed. They went through where water was without getting wet. He kept saying, you're going to go over on dry ground. I've never seen where water was where there was no mud. Or water was where the ground wasn't wet. But they went through where water was without getting wet. Can I prophesy a little bit? Can I speak it to y'all? Look, what God is about to do and about to make happen for you. You won't even have a reminder of the path you had to take to get there. Who can walk through where a sea once was? See, this wasn't a bridge that had got covered up. It didn't used to be a path. It was all a sea and all a river, and they crossed 1,400 miles and didn't have a drop of water on their feet. Didn't have an ounce of mud. So what he getting ready to do is not even going to be a trace of the process. If you just go forward. If you just go forward. I tell somebody, if you just go forward. My God, if you just go forward. What he's about to do is not even going to be a reminder of the past. Woo. No residue. You're going to come out not smelling like. All right, that's just for me. No, that's just for me, y'all. See, he saved you in what looked like a trap. Oh, that's just for me. If it's not for y'all, it's for me. So he would, and then look, my God, he used what was blocking them. The Red Sea was blocking them. He used what was blocking them to block those coming after him. So if you step, what seems impassable to you would then become impassable to the enemy that's pursuing you. He told his people to go forward. See, whenever he instructs you to move forward, he's going to facilitate your safety. And he's going to facilitate your strategy. It don't matter what it look like. Those are the two things that if he tells you to do something, he's going to facilitate your safety in it, your protection in it, and he's going to give you the strategy, the plan to put in your hands to get through it. And see, this is what amazed me. This is not something that had been done before. Nobody in history had ever crossed a river on dry land before. It was not a bridge or trail that was once covered. And see, some of the things, that's just encouragement, like what I just went through, that was new to me. In my military career, I had never been under that type of persecution before. I had never been facing the things that I was facing, the obstacles that I was facing. So some of the things we face may be new, but that's God's method for miracle time. That, because he didn't say just his people were going to know that he was God, but he said the enemy is going to know that he was God. So people got to look at your stuff that seems impossible for God to do it, because everything seems impossible until it's done. Whew. And see, if it was originally a way, he wouldn't be able to reveal himself as a way maker. If you were never sick, he would never be able to reveal himself as a healer. So he has to put us in situations sometimes to see if we're going to still trust him, to see if we're going to move forward in order for him to make a way. Because in Exodus 14:14, it say that he'll fight for you if you hold your peace. So he trying to see if you're going to keep holding that peace when it look like you stuck, when it look like you fail, when it look like you can't get through, when it look like you can't go over or under. Can you still hold your peace? Because what he told you was if he hold it, he'll fight for you. So sometimes he'll tie up your hands so you can hold on to that peace. Woo. Tell your neighbor, you don't have to fight, just keep moving. You don't have, I don't care what the enemy is throwing at you, you can't hit this moving target. Matter of fact, the Bible tells itself when he said if you hold your peace and you keep moving forward, that he'll fight for you. The Bible says that those entangled in warfare don't have time to worry about trivial things, but pleasing the one who enlisted them. I come to tell you that God is the one who has enlisted us on this morning, and what he's saying is, I'll take care of the trivial stuff if you just keep moving forward. So I made up in my mind that I'm going to keep moving forward on this morning. Is anybody with me that's going to move on course to a successful conclusion? Because it's not going to end for me the way it is right now. I don't care what it looks like right now. I know it's hard right now. I know it looks bad, but this is going to end well for me. That's my declaration now, that this is going to end well for me. I don't care what it looks like right now. It's going to end well for me. And then this is what gets me too. I love the Lord. He's so good. Look, Pharaoh's army pursued them after the Red Sea was parted. But it tells us that they was swallowed up when Moses turned around and stretched out his hands. Pharaoh's army drowned because they tried to take a way out or a path that wasn't meant for them. Let me let that sink a little bit. Taking a path that's not yours won't end well for you. That's the danger of trying to take somebody else's path. You get swallowed up trying to take somebody else's way out. Let me break this. Somebody else's provision is that. Remember the phrase, what God has for me is for. That means he can provide you a way out and me a way out, but you can't take mine. And I can't take yours. And the enemy can't take yours. The enemy ran into a way that was made for God's people and got swallowed up. They drowned trying to take somebody else's way of escape, trying to take somebody else's path that God had them on, somebody else's bridge, somebody else's breakthrough. And that's why it's dangerous, especially in the body of Christ, for us to be jealous of folks. For us to wonder why such and such did this and get blessed, and I did this and I did the same thing and I can't get blessed in it. Why didn't such and such open that business? Why mine fell through the ground? Because that path wasn't for you. So Pharaoh learned a hard lesson, and all the people that were attached on with him learned a hard lesson that you can't take a path that was designed by God for somebody else. My path is my path, and your path is your path. And this is what he did. This is what I like. You know how it feels like sometimes? I bet Job felt like this. It just never stopped. They just never keep coming. Every time one thing go down, something else happen. Every time I fail one time, I fail again. Everything just hits me at once. But see, when we do what God told us to do, watch this. He told the people to go forward, move on course to a successful conclusion. And then it said that the Lord took the wheels off the chariots of Pharaoh and his army. So he told me to go forward. I obeyed and went forward, and then he stopped the enemy from being able to move forward. Y'all get that later. He told me to move forward, and then he made it difficult for what was coming after me to move forward. It said that he took their wheels off their chariots so they can't keep rolling up on me like they've been rolling up on me. Because now that I'm in the wheel, now that I'm on the path that he told me to go on, he's responsible for my protection. So he told me to go forward, but he didn't tell the enemy to go forward. He told me to go forward, and then the enemy stepped into what God made for me. And it said he took the wheels off their chariots so that they couldn't go forward. And then what he did, he said that this day. Now, all that seemed like a long time, didn't it? It seemed like this was a long. It said that God did it in one day. In one day. He can put you in one place with one act of obedience, with one miracle, and change the course of your life. They can now facilitate the next step of getting to the promise. And tell your neighbor, it won't take as long as you think. I know it seemed like a long time now, but it won't take as long as you think. So I dare you to start moving and see what God does. I dare you to start moving and see what he opens up. I dare you to start moving and see what he blocks from pursuing you. He said, stop crying. I need you to move forward. Can you play that, Deacon Bell, moving forward? He said, I need you to stop crying. I need you to stop wallowing. I need you to stop feeling sorry for yourself. I need you to stop saying, woe is me, and everybody's doing me wrong. He said, what I'm calling you to do in this season is to go forward. It's been long enough that we've been getting caught time after time from what he keeps bringing us out of. Can you turn it down a little bit? From what he keeps bringing us out on, he's saying in this season, if you will just go forward, everything that's constantly chasing you, everything that's constantly coming up on you and overtaking you, I'll make it difficult for that to move forward. And as soon as they step in the path of obedience that I made for you, I'm going to swallow them up. Because the first thing that Moses said is when you stand still and see the salvation of the Lord, he said the Egyptians that you see today, the bondage you see today, the sin you see today, the chains and the strongholds you see today, he said if you face it now, you will no longer see them forever. If you could just get that in your spirit that no matter what it looks like, I'm going to move forward. No matter what it is that's in front of me, I'm going to move forward because I know that God is going to facilitate my way out. Even if it take a miracle, some stuff is natural and naturally can be done. But even if it's impossible, it is impossible. Faith can cause the facts to change. So God he's challenging us on the day. When I read this, I felt challenged because it's sometimes where I get to a position where I'm like, Lord, I just don't see me getting through this. There were times during that investigation when something else would hit, I would think one thing is worked out and it comes again. There were times where I told myself and the Lord, I just don't see me getting through this. And when I came up on this text, I wish I had read it before my investigation. And then I wouldn't keep getting caught by stuff that I was reverting back to for comfort, that I was reverting back to for console and for certainty. If I would have gone forward then, he could have stopped the progress of the enemy a long time ago. But I came to tell you this morning, it's never too late to move forward. It's never too late to move forward. So God says, I just want you in this season to not look at what's in front of you, not look at what's beside you, not even look at what's still coming after you, the thing you just can't be able to shake. Because if you just move forward, I'll open up something for you and then shut it on the enemy when he try to keep pursuing you. So I want to challenge the movement, the UICDI, the movement, that in this season, and we being the movement, that we continue, no matter what, to go forward. Say your neighbor, we're going forward. We're going forward. Now, the altar is open. I wasn't going to be long. That's all I wanted to say.